On Global TV News Prime, military rescues 393 kidnapped victims, neutralizes 102 terrorists in July operation. In business, Central Nigeria caught bill healed as investor demands hits 3.62 trillion naira. On the foreign scene, Harare calm despite strike calls over Zimbabwe constitutional reforms. And in sports, Nigeria Premier Football League intensifies efforts to attract bigger corporate sponsorship ahead of the 2026-2027. Hello and welcome to all of you as in Nigeria and around the world to News Prime on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Ubong Usoro. A quick reminder, Global Television is on DSTV channel 365, on StarTimes channel 276. We are also on Free TV. The Armed Forces of Nigeria has rescued 393 kidnapped victims, arrested 345 terrorists and other criminal suspects, and neutralized more than 102 terrorists in a renewed push against insecurity in July. The Director of Defense Media Operation, Major General Michael Onoja, made this known while keeping journalists abreast with operational activities of the armed forces in Abuja. Kelomo Gere completes the story.
Addressing journalists in Abuja, the Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Michael Onoja, says the operations conducted in collaboration with other security agencies and local vigilante group also led to the surrender of 57 insurgents, the recovery of 59 firearms and 1,811 rounds of ammunition, as well as the destruction of several terrorist camps, logistic bases, and illegal refining sites. Major General Onoja says troops recorded significant regional successes across Northeast, Northwest, North Central, South-South, and Southeast under various joint task operations. He noted that several high-value terrorist commanders and collaborators were neutralized or arrested, while sustained air and ground offensive disrupted terrorist logistics, rescue abducted civilians, and further weakened criminal networks. The DDMO added that troops intensified crackdown on crude oil thefts in Niger Delta, dismantling 18 illegal refining sites and recovering more than 250,000 liters of stolen petroleum products.
During the month, we neutralized over 102 terrorists, with 345 terrorists and criminals arrested. We also rescued 393 kidnapped victims. Additionally, 57 insurgents surrendered to troops, while 59 arms and 1,811 rounds of ammunition were recovered.
Major General Onoja says the Chief of Defense Staff commended troops for their professionalism and sacrifice, particularly for the successful rescue of 44 pupils and teachers abducted in Oyo State without any concession of their captors. The military also urged Nigerians to continue supporting security efforts by providing credible and timely intelligence through the Armed Forces toll-free emergency line.
Recorded notable successes across the operational theaters in the various geopolitical zones. These successes include the rescue of abducted and kidnapped victims, as well as the neutralization and arrest of terrorists, kidnappers, militias, and other criminal elements. It also included the surrender of terrorists and their family members, the recovery, or in some cases, the destruction of arms, ammunition, logistics, and equipment employed by criminals for illegal acts of economic sabotage.
He also highlighted ongoing civil-military cooperation projects, including peace-building initiatives, healthcare intervention, and community development programs aimed at strengthening public confidence and supporting stability in conflict-affected areas. Kelomo Gere, Global TV News.
President Bola Tinubu says the establishment of 4 additional divisions of the Army is part of renewed efforts to strengthen national security and ensure military response to emerging threats across the country. The president stated this while receiving the Oyo State Council of Obas led by the Olubadan of Ibadan, Oba Rashidi Adewale Ladoja, at the presidential villa in Abuja. Kikelomo Okere brings us the details.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu says the expanded military structure has enhanced the operational capacity of the armed forces to tackle terrorism, banditry, kidnapping, and other violent crimes. He praised security personnel for the successful rescue of the victim in the Orire adoption, reaffirming the federal government's resolve not to negotiate with criminal elements about to ransom demands. The president also noted that insecurity in neighboring countries continue to fuel cross-border criminal activities in Nigeria. On state police, the president assured Nigerians that the proposed policing system would be backed by strong constitutional safeguards to prevent abuse. He says the federal government is also strengthening the capacity of forest guards to flush out criminals from forest hideouts, while calling on Nigerians, traditional rulers, and community leaders to support security agencies through timely intelligence and vigilance.
We are equally enhancing the capacity and capability of the forest guards. They are not just to chase antelopes and animals. We are going to have them chase the criminals and deal with them.
The Olubadan of Ibadan, Oba Rashid Adewale Ladoja, commended President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for the successful rescue of victims in the Orire abduction and applauded the administration's stride in infrastructure and national development. He reaffirmed the support of the traditional rulers for the renewed hope agenda, assuring the president of their continued prayers, counsel, and cooperation to ensure the success of his administration. The monarch also advocates true federalism as a catalyst for accelerated regional development, describing the establishment of Regional Development Commission as a step in the right direction. He further called for constitutional recognition of traditional rulers, urging the federal government to assign them defined roles in governance and national security.
All the people that were there, that were threat to life and property of people for your state, we have succeeded in getting them out of the place. But please, let us have the presence of the security agencies there, so that they do not regather. This is a forest that extends from Oyo State to Niger State. It's supposed to be the reserve.
The engagement underscores the federal government's determination to reinforce Nigeria's security architecture through enhanced military capability, community-based intelligence, and closer partnership with traditional institutions. Kikelomo Okere, Global.
The National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, says the federal government remains unwavering in its resolve to rid the country of illicit weapons, fueling terrorism, banditry, kidnapping, and other violent crimes. Represented by the administrator of the Presidential Amnesty Program, Dr. Dennis Otaru, the NSA stated this at the destruction of 2,809 illicit, decommissioned, and unserviceable small arms and light weapons by the National Center for the Control of Small Arms and Light Weapons in Abuja. Kikelomo Okere brings us the details.
The National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, who was represented by the administrator of the Presidential Amnesty Program, Dr. Dennis Otaru, says the public destruction of the recovered weapons demonstrates government's commitment to transparency, accountability, and national security, stressing that every weapon permanently destroyed removed a threat to lives and prevents the arms from returning to criminal circulation. He also urged Nigerians to support security agencies by reporting illegal possession, trafficking and movement of arms, while calling on the traditional and religious leaders to promote peace and voluntary disarmament.
Weapon recovered by our gallant armed forces, police, and other security services, and every weapon that eventually finds its way into an exercise such as this represents a threat permanently neutralized.
The Director General of the National Center for the Control of Small Arms and Light Weapons, retired DIG Johnson Kokumo, described the exercise as a major milestone in the fight against insecurity. It disclosed that over 21,000 illicit, obsolete, and unserviceable weapons have been recovered since the center was established, with about 19,000 now permanently destroyed.
Permanently reducing the pool of illicit weapons available to criminal and terrorist elements, this program directly supports the President's mandate through our security agencies to bring lasting peace and stability to every part of Nigeria.
Kokumo commended the armed forces, the Nigerian Police Force, the Department of the State Service, and the Nigerian Customs Service, as well as the security agencies for their collaboration, declaring that every recovered weapon destroyed is a major setback for arms traffickers and criminal elements across the country. Kike Lomo Okeri, Global TV News.
With just weeks to the Osun State governorship election, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has assured voters of a peaceful, credible, and transparent electoral process, declaring that no individual or group will be allowed to undermine the will of the people through violence, intimidation, or vote buying. The assurance came as political parties formally signed the Osun State Peace Accord in Osogbo. Aniete Patrick reports.
Action Democratic Party, ADP.
The signing of the Osun State Peace Accord brought together political parties, security agencies, traditional rulers, and other stakeholders in a renewed commitment to peaceful and credible elections ahead of the August 15 governorship poll. Speaking at the ceremony, INEC Chairman Professor Josh Amopiton reaffirmed the Commission's readiness for the election, revealing that 7 of the 9 scheduled electoral activities have already been completed. He disclosed that more than 2.3 million registered voters are expected to participate, while the collection of permanent voter cards was extended to July 31st to enhance voter participation. Professor Amopiton also announced that a statewide mock accreditation exercise will hold on August 1st to test the Commission's technology and logistics, adding that security agencies have identified about 2,000 vulnerable polling units for enhanced deployment.
We have mapped localized risk corridors, identified emerging threats, anticipated potential flashpoints, prioritized interventions, and implemented mitigation measures, particularly in vulnerable locations.
Representing the National Peace Committee, Cardinal John Onaikon described the accord as a solemn commitment to democracy and urged political actors to conduct issue-based campaigns, respect the rule of law, and accept the outcome of the election peacefully.
Political parties and their leaders in the run-up to the election to do their best to carry on their campaigns, their activities in a peaceful way, respecting the rule of law, and remembering that election will come and go.
The Oni of Ife, Oba Adeyeye Enitan Ogunwusi Ojaja II, also appealed to politicians and their supporters to reject violence, vote buying, and inflammatory rhetoric, reminding citizens to vote according to their conscience.
Please, I want all of us to behave. Let us behave ourselves. Let us be peaceful. Let us be calm. Let us go to the polling units, the polling booths. Let us vote. Let us do whatever our wish. Don't let anybody buy your conscience.
Security agencies equally assured residents of adequate security before, during, and after the election, pledging professionalism and neutrality throughout the process. The ceremony ended with candidates and party representatives signing the peace accord, after which the INEC chairman led national commissioners and technical officials on an assessment tour of selected local government areas to evaluate operational readiness ahead of the August 15 governorship election. Anietie Patrick, Global TV News.
Health insurance stakeholders have renewed calls for greater investment in capacity building and stronger partnership to accelerate the achievement of the universal health coverage in Nigeria. The call was made at the Health Insurance and Managed Care National Leadership Award of Excellence organized by the Institute for Health Insurance and Managed Care of Nigeria under the theme Robust Capacity for Universal Health Coverage. Correspondent reports.
The event brought together health insurance professionals, policymakers, and stakeholders to discuss strategies for strengthening Nigeria's health insurance system and expanding access to quality health care. Delivering the keynote address, the patron of the Institute for Health Insurance and Managed Care of Nigeria, Dr. Mohammed Leke, described health insurance as the most sustainable way of financing health care, stressing that expanding coverage is essential to protecting Nigerians from the financial burden of medical treatment.
The only institution that can ensure that the adequate capacity is built, and many states now have their state, I think they have their state health insurance, authority. So these are institutions that are growing that will require individuals, men and women, brilliant people who can take the frontier.
The national coordinator of the Institute for Health Insurance and Managed Care of Nigeria, Dr. Moses Ayibowo, said the institute remains committed to training, certification, and licensing of health insurance professionals while partnering with state governments and health maintenance organizations to improve healthcare financing.
Be the driving force in terms of capacity building for health insurance and managed care industry in Nigeria. And this drive has awakened even the National Health Insurance Authority.
The chairman, Board of Fellows of the Institute of Health Insurance and Managed Care of Nigeria, Dr. Hope Oweja, emphasized the need for continuous investment in human capacity, strong institutions, and professional standards to achieve universal health coverage.
The Institute for Health Insurance and Managed Care of Nigeria is key to getting it right in the country. And for many years back, this institute has stood for that.
The first medical director of the Nigeria Police Force, Dr. Nkechi Nze, urged Nigerians to embrace health insurance, saying it remains one of the most effective ways to access quality health care.
The importance of this award, we know that a policeman, you cannot carry out your functions effectively without being healthy. So you know that health is health. And for a policeman to be able to carry out his duties effectively, he has to be very healthy. And how do we make sure that that's what our directorate is there for?
The highlight of the event was a presentation of the Health Insurance and Managed Care National Leadership Awards 2026, recognizing states and individuals for outstanding contribution to the advancement of health insurance and managed care in Nigeria. Ubon Osoro, Global TV News.
Welcome back. Now let's get to business. The Nigerian Auctioneers Association has shown its weight behind the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission electronic auction system for the disposal of forfeited assets as transparent, credible process and a major step towards accountability. The Nigerian Auctioneers Association, Musa Kura, announced this while addressing journalists in Abuja. Global TV, Ramsey Enoch Abu brings the report.
President, Nigeria Auctioneers Association, Musa Kura, says its partnership with the EFCC has strengthened transparency in the disposal of forfeited assets through the electronic auction platform, noting that the system has enhanced credibility and public confidence in the auction process.
President of the Nigerian Association of Auctioneers is Alhaji Musa Kura. Kura was duly elected at the last NAA National Delegates Conference in Ibadan, Oyo State, on the 28th of October 2023. For a period of 4 years, the Ibadan Conference was sequel to the order of the National Industrial Court Bauchi, dated the 26th of July 2023, which mandated the NAA to conduct election within 3 months and present the results to the presiding judge. Kura emerged victorious and his election was duly recognized and affirmed by the judicial authorities. Therefore, any person parading himself in any other capacity is doing so illegally.
The president also debunked media reports attributed to an individual claiming to be the president, describing him as an imposter. It maintained that Musa Kura was duly elected at the National Delegates Conference held in Ibadan in October 2023 in compliance with an order of the National Industrial Court. It added that contempt proceedings are also before the court over the alleged unlawful claim to the office.
NAA acknowledges and commends the EFCC leadership under Barrister Kayode Olukoyede for its consistent efforts in conducting public auctions in a transparent, accountable, and digitalized manner through the e-auction platform. This process was designed to eliminate sharp practices, broaden participation, and ensure value for money in the disposal of forfeited assets. The views expressed by the impostor in the publications, therefore, do not and cannot represent the position of the Nigerian Association of Auctioneers.
The association urged government agencies, financial institutions, and the general public to disregard statements issued by unauthorized persons claiming to represent the Nigerian Auctioneers Association, reaffirming that only its duly elected leadership speaks to the organization. Ramsey Enoch Agbo, Global TV News.
On the foreign scene, streets in Zimbabwe's capital, Harare, remained largely calm despite calls for a nationwide strike. And President Emerson Mnangagwa end of a second and final term in 2028. The proposed constitution that will elect under certain provisions and create a pathway for the 83-year-old president to remain in office beyond constitutional limits. The government, however, maintained that the reforms are aimed at strengthening governance and ensuring political stability. Samuel Odi brings the details.
The opposition parties and civil society organizations have challenged the proposed amendment in court, insisting that such far-reaching constitutional change should be subjected to a national referendum. They accuse the ruling ZANU-PF party of weakening democratic institutions in an effort to consolidate its hold on power after more than 4 decades of governing Zimbabwe. Although protest organizers called for citizens to stay away from work and participate in the demonstrations, businesses, activities, and public transport service continued in many parts of Harare with a visible security presence across key locations in the city. Authorities have urged citizens to remain peaceful and warned against acts capable of disrupting public orders. The development comes as Zimbabwe faces growing scrutiny over the democratic credentials ahead of future elections. Political observers say the outcome of the legal challenge and public response to the constitutional reform could have significant implications for the country's political landscape and governance in the years ahead. The constitutional dispute is expected to remain at the center of Zimbabwe's political discourse in the coming months as courts weigh opposition's challenge and citizens await government's next step on the proposed reform. Samuel Odi, Global TV News.
Nigeria Premier Football League (NPFL) has intensified efforts to attract bigger corporate sponsorship ahead of the 2026 season by urging clubs to embrace digital transformation, improve data generation, and branding strategies. Took center stage on NPFL and marketing workshop in Enugu, where media officers and marketing heads of the league's 20 building sustainable financial programs. As Global TV News Prime comes to an end, let's take a look at the top stories. The Armed Forces of Nigeria has rescued 393 kidnapped victims, arrested 345 terrorists and other criminal suspects, and neutralized more than 102 terrorists in a renewed push against insecurity in July. In business, the Central Bank of Nigeria has reduced the stop rate on its Year 1 Treasury bill at Wednesday primary market auction after investors submitted overwhelming bids reflecting sustained appetite for longer-dated government securities. On the foreign scene, streets in Zimbabwe's capital, Harare, remain largely calm despite calls for a nationwide strike and mass protest over controversial constitutional amendments that could extend President Emerson Mnangagwa's stay in power beyond the end of his second and final term in office. And in sports, the Nigeria Premier Football League (NPFL) has intensified efforts to attract bigger corporate sponsorship ahead of the 2026-2027 season by urging clubs to embrace digital transformation, improve data generation, and strengthen their brand strategies. That's it on News Prime. A quick reminder, Global TV is on DSTV channel 365, StarTime channel 276, and Free TV. Kindly follow us across all social media handles now on your platform, but please use Global TVNG. My name is Ubon Osoro. Thank you for watching.